All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in to the very first Brennarldo and Cecch. I'm Brennarldo, and this is Kyle or Cecch. Kyle, how you going?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Awesome. 2022 NRL. Here we are. What's your thoughts?
Looking forward to a good season. I think the quality of the trials really showed that we're in for a really good season.
Yes, it was pretty awesome that we were able to watch all of the
Hmm.
trials. If you didn't get to tune in, there was a lot of extended highlights that I managed to secure a bit of a viewing on those ones for the trials that I couldn't see.
Yeah,
There
that's
was
that's that's a good point. Yeah,
yes, there was a lot of positives out of those trials, and it really got me hyped for this coming week. All right, so we've got what a number of things we've been discussing over the last probably years or two now to try and get something like this up and running. But in more recent past, we've come up with a number of different things to start off 2022. I believe you've compiled the majority of this list, so we'll get you to probably just take over a little bit, ask a few of your questions towards me based on a number of different predictions. I'll then try and turn it around to get your answer, and then we can open it to the floor, kind of just discuss how we'll be going.
I just thought first show of the year will be good to make some predictions, and I'm never short of a bold prediction. So
You can say that again.
let's get it out there straight away.
All right, what do you
No,
got?
no,
First thing.
definitely. I was gonna say definitely no sitting on the fence here. Righto, let's start nice and easy. Premiers. Who's gonna win this year?
All right, Premier for me. It's going to be a bit of a whoa, I think, to you. You haven't heard this one yet, but I've got my premiers as the
Yeah, this is gonna
Eels.
be good. Oh, okay, right. Yeah,
Eels.
well,
Just
indeed.
the point that I've got here with
Explain.
the thing I've got here with the Eels is I know it was just a trial match against the Panthers, but they really just looked like they changed how they played. They got a very similar team to the last 2 or 3 years, but just how they played on the field, the way they looked in defence with the ball, they just looked phenomenal. Yes, trials, I can say that as many times as I need to, but they just looked like a different side.
That's a good point. I think they were able to get Gutho involved more. I think that was one thing that they were lacking a bit was how to get King Gutho involved. But I think even he was turning the ball under and that. So I think, like you said, they've got, even though it might be similar players, they got some more options to actually. I like that. I like that call.
Well, I don't really think, for me, I was a bit different with Gutho. I think he was getting a little bit over involved and taking
Yeah.
over from the likes of Dylan Brown, who didn't really get an opportunity to shine. He was
Yeah.
still doing so many good things, but we just couldn't see it because I think Gutho overshadowed that a little bit. Whereas this trial match, we kind of saw him take a small step back, which let Brown step into that spotlight, and he was
And
able
let
to go from
they
there.
let everyone play their role. So you got Moses as a conductor, Brown plays his role, and then instead of Gutho having to create stuff, he can just play on the back of them. And it's actually it's having the confidence to let them, the halves, run the show and just being able to play on the back of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was me. I had the Eels. A bit of a shock, I think,
So
to you.
that's a good one. I don't mind that.
Who have
Yeah,
you
I
got?
think I'm going back to back. I'm going Panthers back to back. I know they're missing a few people, they're losing a few people, but I think the nucleus of that side, obviously Cleary, little I, and then add the likes of Toto and them. But I think the nucleus of the side, and with their young guns that they've been able to keep, Yo and Martin and all these guys, Fisher Harris, one of the best props in the game. I think they can go back to back.
See, that's not like I don't completely agree. Obviously, I went and chose that the Eels to win, but I'm not. Are you worried at all that these young gun Eels will get a little bit, not Eels, Panthers will get a little bit complacent on the back of winning the premiership because they are young, they haven't really been in this position before. 2 years ago they used the loss against Melbourne as a bit of a fuel to burn the fire. But now that they've, got that premiership, are they then gonna slip back into some old habits, being so young?
That's a good point. I think during the year at some stage they might or probably will, but I think the end of the season, coming into finals, I think they'll be fine by the end of the year, and I think skill would take over. I just think there's some very really skillful players in that side who can sort of do anything. So, yeah, I'm liking the Panthers.
You liking the
Which, but yeah,
Panthers?
it will be a big thing for them to make the grand final 3 years in a row.
Hasn't happened
Uh,
very often.
no, I didn't think anyone would ever win back to back, and the Roosters proved me wrong. So, I think yeah, Panthers.
Yeah. All right. Now, you have another
No,
one. Who you got?
runners up. So Eels for you. Who's going to win it? Who's going to play them in the grand final?
I'm going Manly.
Yeah.
Manly. When I told you a few weeks ago what I reckon the 16 in order would be, I had Manly as minor premiers then. That was pre-trials. I still think that they're probably going to get close to, if not be minor premiers on the back of Turbo. But I just don't think they'll be able to go that one step further, and they'll lose that final.
My question is, with if Turbo at some stage gets injured and is out for a say extended period and whatever, do you think they can still, you know, challenge the top teams without Turbo? It's always the
It'll
big
be very
question.
similar to last year. I don't think they will go as well, obviously, without Turbo. Like, based on his form last year and even the little bit of trials that he played this year, he's going to be very hard to stop again. So without him, that's going to be a really big hole. But they do have a few young guns coming through, like that real quick young centre. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's in my Supercoach team. Um,
Yes.
he is tipped to be an okay looking little fullback. So him, they've got Ruben Garrick, who's done a job there before, but none of them are turbo. So I think that will very much hinder them. But I don't believe Turbo will get an injury for an extended period.
Yeah. Well, for runners up, I actually went Manly too, for all those reasons. And well, yeah, speaking on trial form, how good's Turbo? I tell you, it's when he gets the ball, it's like the whole game goes into slow motion. He just gets the ball and does stuff, but he just makes it look so easy, which for other people would be such, so hard, and he just makes it look so effortless. Yeah, he was born to play footy.
I
Um,
just
I I think after they finished what in the prelims last year, um, challenging the Rabbitohs in the prelims. I think they've got pretty much the same side as last year. They might have lost a few people Thule in that, but they've got pretty much the same side as last year. So there isn't any new combinations. So it wasn't like getting adjusted or that. I think they'll pretty much will be almost continuing on from last year, and last year they did start a bit slow. So I think this year that's the difference. I think they'll start good, and I think throughout the whole year they'll pretty much be in the top four, top six the whole year. I can't see them coming up and down much. I think they'll have a really good, consistent year.
yeah, well, I had him here tipped minor premiers. So, it's not often that we agree on something, and the fact that we haven't spoken about anything on these topics prior to now, other than knowing in advance a bit of what the topics are going to be so we can be a bit more prepared and not on the spot, then that rarely happens.
It's good to get live reactions.
100%. And I'm keen to potentially
Yeah,
tomorrow
it's good to
evening
get
or
live reactions.
afternoon do the same thing with team lists. Here comes team list. Team list Tuesday. Let's go.
Seamless, yes. Yes.
All right, I might jump in here. I'm going
Um,
to do this next one, hey? You've done the
righto,
winner and runner up. Who you got for the spoon?
righto. Because this is my going right. I'm going to the Cowboys. I just can't see. I can't see the Cowboys can't see the Cowboys doing much, to be honest. There's a lot of uncertainty around Tamalolo and where he's going to play. I still think he'll play lock. He's not been. I don't know if it's the fact that he's properly or if it's him himself getting complacent, the one or the other. But I just can't see. I just don't think they have much strike. Like they've got the hammer at fullback, who's getting adjusted to being the fullback. Tamalolo when he's in form. I just don't think they have much strike. I can't see them doing that much, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't seen team list yet, but from the trials and a bit of talk around the place, they're going to have Townsend and Dearden, two very similar players in the halves. There's not too much creativity there. You've got Robson at hooker, again, tackle all day, pretty okay out of dummy half, running the ball, but no real strike.
There's just no
So that
creativity.
leaves it up to the
No.
hammer at fullback, like you said, learning his role at fullback in the NRL. And then the only other
He's got
one
to learn his role as well as, pretty much be the star X factor in that side, because there's no JT, there's no Matty Bowen, there's nothing like that anymore. It's, Hammer has to be the X factor as well as learn his role at fullback, which is such a huge role in this day and age.
Well,
To
who
be the
knows? Maybe
fullback, attacking.
Tamalolo gets back to his role. Like his role has changed so much last year. If he gets some minutes in, he can be that X factor up the middle, gets that
I
role
hope
on,
so.
and then
Hope so.
Dearden and Townsend don't have to create anything out of nothing. They just play on the back of a pretty dominant player in Tamalolo.
I hope so.
But no, I think I have the Dogs. I have the Dogs for the spoon. I have the Cowboys for 15th.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
my reasoning here,
What is?
Dogs for the spoon. 2 weeks ago, when I did that list, honestly, I would have had the Tigers as 16. But going off the trials, the Dogs were poor. And again, I know it's only trials, but the number one for me, Avarillo is not a 7. Not to partner Matty Burton. They're trying to manufacture a 7 at a club that is struggling. All the other manufactured 7s throughout, recent history coming from clubs that are not struggling. So trying to create a genuine 7 in Avarillo is going to be near impossible to do that.
On that, would you put Avarillo at 6 and Burton at 7? Have the same two per swap numbers? I guess it doesn't do much. What would you do in the half? Or is it just they're just trying to make the best of their situation?
Really, I like Kyle Flanagan at 7. He's proven that with a ball running half, a couple of years ago at the Roosters when he had Keary at 6 and he was at 7, he could just steer that ship a little bit around, just had to worry about getting his kicks right, and the other half would do all the special stuff. I think Burton can be that special kind of player who can get all the accolades, while Flanagan, he also provides you with an amazing goal kicking, so you'll have both him and Burton who are just going to be really good in their goal kicking ranks. But he's got a brilliant kicking game as seen at the Roosters, and he can do a job. Avarillo probably fitting in that side would have to probably be 14. He can play centre, he can play a bit of fullback, I'd say. He can obviously play 6 and 7. You know, you just don't want to pigeonhole this young kid into a position that is probably not suited to him. If he was at a different club that is thriving a bit more and then he gets chucked into 7, that's probably, he'd probably go alright.
Yeah, not as much pressure. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
But the other one is, I just can't see Tavita Pangai keeping his cool. If he can't keep his cool in trials, how's he going to go when the game is really on the line? And then the other thing...
here's the real prediction. How long till he gets suspended? How long will he go before he gets suspended?
Round 1. Something stupid.
Yeah.
But no, the other thing on the back of the Dogs is Trent Barrett will get the sack, which is inevitable if he gets this. If they are going to get the spoon, it's inevitable. So it's not really a big prediction.
Well, after you've said that, moving into the next question, the biggest move is up the ladder.
So,
I'll go first on this one then, because I
right,
actually have the doggies. I think they'll move up the ladder the most. I think they'll just make the 8. I think it's funny because all the stuff you said, I sort of half agree with, but I think they got enough. Even if they don't play as a team or whatever, I think they got enough individual. I love Matty Burden. I think he'll be great there. I'm not saying for the year that they'll stay. They probably might make some changes in the halves than that, but I think they'll move up the ladder. I think they got enough individual players, and the thing is, I think they will want. Like you said, if they don't get these short-term results, yes, I think Barrett will go, but probably even before the end of the year because of the amount of recruits that they've done. They did a lot. They've done a lot of recruiting. I think if they don't get these results, during the year, I think yeah. But I like the doggies.
doggies, have you got a prediction how far up the ladder they will move? Like,
Yeah, I think they'll make the 8. I think
making the eight. So what's that? Between what,
I'm not.
8 and 9 spots up the ladder potentially.
Yeah, so yeah, it's might not be a big call to say scrape into the 8, but from where they were and from where you have them back to back spoons, I think they'll make the 8. Who's your biggest mover up the ladder?
All right, now my biggest move is the Dragons.
Okay.
Um, you go pre-barbecue incident last year, they were in the top 8 and pretty comfortably too. They then went on that second half of the year. I think they won one game to finish this whole second half of the year, um, and they finished 11th. So, I think they're going to move up into 6th or 7th. So they finished 11 up to 6 or 7. Not a huge up, but I believe they also have a better squad this year than last year. You know, they've got a lot more depth. They have a lot of depth in the forwards, as we have
Mm,
discussed in the past. And there's going to be some huge upsets as to who actually misses out in that forward rotation on the back of how well they've recruited to get some depth there. Um, but, I just think last year we probably saw one of the best seasons from Ben Hunt, even though he didn't play as many games as we would have liked. I think he'll just continue that, as seen in the Charity Shield. He just took control, and it's his team, and he's not letting go.
I think that is one thing because Hunt got injured. I think we sort of forgot about. A lot of us seem to forget actually how good he actually was playing before he got injured, and I think part of their slide with the barbecues incident that is also with Ben Hunt was out. He's their captain too.
Well,
So
that's it. Not only did
so
the
with
the
half
Dragons
back,
last year, they lost
yeah,
their captain before the season even started in McInnes,
that
and
was
then
always lost. Yeah.
they had Ben Hunt come in. He was playing some good footy. Then just after the barbecue incident, just before the barbecue incident, had a small injury, a little niggle, missed a few weeks, comes back, plays a couple of good games, and then breaks his leg out for the rest of the year. So, it was a real hard season for the Dragons, mostly on the back of the barbecue incident, but I think also on Ben Hunt, and I think they're on their way up.
Right. Next one. This is a big one for me. I'll let you go first. But biggest fall from grace. So the biggest slide down the ladder. What's yours?
Now, I've gone probably a pretty obvious one that a lot of people would be thinking, but I don't believe it's going to be an absolutely horrible season from this team. I just think, due to a few things that I'm about to mention, the Knights will drop the
Okay.
furthest down the ladder. Now, they finished 7th. I'm tipping them next year or this year to finish 10 or 11th. So, about that 4 or 5 spots down, or 3 or 4 spots down. Just on the back of Brayley out injured for the whole season, losing Mitchell Pearce, like the class those two players had, and I just think they're just going to miss it. They played well in trials. I think they're still going to play, some pretty decent footy throughout the year. I've really liked and been impressed with the 6-7-13 combination with Clifford, Clune, and Mann. Hopefully, I really want them to do that come round one. I do think it's it's a work in progress, but I just think they're still going to slide down a little bit.
Right. I've gone for, which I've said is a bit to you recently, right? I've gone for the Roosters the biggest slide. I think, here we go. I think they'll miss the 8. I think that's sort of, some people might think, oh, that's not that big of a call, but I think it is. But I think they'll miss the 8. I just look at their side. I just don't think they, obviously they've still got the likes of Teddy and Keary, and Walker's got some miles on them now. But for me, I just look at their side and I think their depth isn't as good because they're depth to replace the injured players last year. Now they're the ones playing in the side, so I don't think they have as much depth. And honestly, I just can't see them. I think they'll miss the 8.
I think they're maybe this year 1 or 2 injuries away. If they have even half of the amount of injuries that they had
Oh,
last year, they're gone. But at this stage, you know, with the majority of them keeping injury free, I can't see that happening. But, I can definitely see where you're coming from on the back of that one.
when I look at their squad compared to other squads, I just can't. I just don't think there's the depth there. And to be honest, the quality, which I know they've still got some great players like Teddy and that, but I just can't see the quality there as much. And I think there's some people coming towards the end of their career, all that sort of stuff, like Hargreaves and that. Yeah. I actually think, at first I was just going to have them, they'll just scrape into the 8, but nah, I think they'll miss the 8 altogether.
Yeah, I think the last time that we spoke about the Roosters, you did feel like they were going to drop down a couple of positions, but you definitely still had them in the 8. And with them finishing 5th last year, you know, falling down to still scrape in the 8 is not really that big of a fall. But to have them miss the 8 altogether, that's a big call.
Okay. Right, next. Oh, here we go. Highest. Now we're moving on to individual accolades more. All right, highest try scorer. You go first.
All right, now my top try scorer, I've gone Xavier Coates.
Okay,
Now,
left.
left to edge for the Storm, I think, is looking good in the trials, but no one looks sharper, in my opinion, than Cameron Munster, who plays left side. I just
Okay.
think on the back of a bit of Munster brilliance throughout the year, Coates is just going to get all those rewards. You know, we've seen Addo Carr recently when he was that left winger score a bunch of tries. I just think it's Coates' turn. That winger for the Storm has always scored a number of tries, and I can't see it being any different, especially when you've got Munster looking as good as he does.
Yes, he definitely does look lean and fit. Do you think, say, is it just whoever that left winger is? Like, say, if it wasn't Coates and it was someone else, do you think it would still be the same, or is part of it also Coates himself? Obviously, with his
Definitely part of it is Coates himself. He's definitely shown a lot of potential at the Broncos. Um, we've probably discussed this before. He's probably, in our opinion, not quite been ready when he played Origin, but just
yeah.
through a lack of personnel, he got thrown into the deep end and he handled it all right. Um, which shows he's got, pretty good head on his shoulders. He can play in those big moments. So for a player that's already played in so many big moments throughout his short Origin career, comes down to the Storm, you know, hones in on those skills that he's learnt under a brilliant left side attack of the Melbourne Storm, and we all know typically how players tend to excel when they do go to Melbourne. I just think Coates is in for a real big one.
Right. I've gone. Might be an obvious one, but I've gone for Brian Toto from the Panthers. I think Panthers will win. I think they'll play really good. Yeah, I can just see him scoring a bunch of tries. To be honest, simple as that. He's just going to score a lot of tries, and he'll put a bit more mustard on it with some of his put downs, which is always great. But keep it nice and simple. Toto. For me, that as soon as I thought of top try scorer, he was honestly the first one that came to my mind straight away. I'm
See, I
pretty
struggled a
confident
little bit
about
on
him.
trying to pick one because I think there's a number of people. Toto was actually not one of the people that I was thinking. Um, Probably because he's going to have a new centre partner. We don't really know if it's going to be Targo or Crichton. Um, if it is a new combination with Targo that they've never really played footy before, he might struggle. But if it's Crichton, well, they played footy a couple of years ago, centre wing combination. So yeah, that'll be. Yeah,
To be
I'm
honest,
not against it, but you know,
I'm not worried about what the center they have. He has with him because I just think he's just that good. He's just an entertainer, really.
all right now,
You asked this one,
top points. This one,
righto.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have picked the same person, to be completely honest. But I'll let you go first.
One for Ruben Garrick.
Garrick back to back. He was my second choice. I reckon he'll be back. He'll be runner up in my opinion for top points. But
Yeah. I just think because Manly, which I know you agree with me on this, Manly score a lot of tries, without a doubt. And he's a winger. So, and us, we were talking about this earlier today, that, for a top point scorer, I think it's an outside back who then can goal kick. And I had a few in mind, but I just think Manly will score the most tries this year. They always score a lot of tries. He'll score some of those tries, but also, he could have a day where he could kick 8 from 8 or something like that, and score like one try or something, and he's still got a huge amount of points. I think Garrick. I think after Garrick actually had close, I just thought Manly score more tries. I had Latrell just behind him
and
because
I'll just jump in here. I had Latrell as top
yeah,
points.
we got right.
I think just with him taking over the Bunnies kicking, like he'd been top point scorer or thereabouts when he was at the Roosters as a goal kicker. Being at fullback, he plays on both sides of the field with the ball, more opportunity for tries than when he was playing at centre. He's got a point to prove after that long suspension last year into this year. Um, he's just, I reckon he'll, drag lots of tries, kick lots of goals.
See, for me, why I had Garrick over Mitchell was I just think Garrick will, as a wing, he'll score a few more tries than Mitchell will as fullback. I think Mitchell will have a hand in obviously a lot of tries, but I think he might set more up than score himself, especially with the amount of try scorers they do have on that side. If they do go to that left side again, and Mitchell and Walker combine, I think they'll set up their outside man more
Would you
than
look at
me
it
than
though?
actually score himself.
You look last year. Look at all the try scorers that Manly had. By the end of the season, they had 3 players score more than 20 tries. One of them being their fullback, the other 2 their wingers. So it is likely that having a number of try scorers in your team doesn't mean one of them cannot be your fullback.
Okay. Righto. I'll ask you this. I'll let you go first, righto. Dally M of the year, player of the year.
All right, this
Who
is
do
a
you reckon?
huge call.
Righto, I'm ready for this.
Reed Marnie.
That is a big call. Righto, go. Explain this one to me.
We've seen over the last couple of years, like, he has improved out of sight. I think the new style of play that the Eels are going to go by, he is going to just eat up that middle. He's going to make it his own. I said this, the year after he debuted, that he would be one of my first picked to debut in Origin that season. He didn't go on to do that. He didn't even go on to do that last year. But I've got big raps on him. You know that for a long time now. He's very solid. I love his kicking game out of dummy half. He'll tackle for days. Great pass selection. He's probably one of the cleanest passes out of dummy half in the game right now, without a doubt. If not number one, he's definitely top 2. So I just think on the back of what I believe the Eels are going to be up there as premiers, I think he's going to have a massive year. Look back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was, Jack Whiten got Dally M. No one would have predicted that. Here we are.
Okay.
Reed Marnie. Bit of a left
Let me
field
just pick
option.
myself. Let me just pick myself up off the ground for that. It's funny because you've gone left field here.
You've probably gone
I've gone the
super obvious.
most obvious choice there is, but I still don't think it's completely obvious because it's like if he stays injury free. I've gone for Tommy Turbo. Pretty simple. He's a freak. He's out of this world. He's on another level. I'm going him for Dally M. I just think, and like with you, I think he will play more games this year than last year. And the amount of games he played last year was able to get it, so I think he'll get it again. Pretty simple. It might be an obvious choice, but I just think even if he does get in, he'll get it. He's just an absolute freak.
The only thing for me is last year, as we know, Turbo was on another level. Like, we thought going about halfway through the season, we thought Cleary was a front runner. Just
Mm.
with that Dally M, because Cleary was playing on another level. And Turbo just hadn't played enough games. But by the end of the season, as we know, Turbo being
Uh,
Turbo. But, can he keep that up for another season at
yeah,
that
and the thing
exact
is,
level?
and after watching the trials, I think yes. Maybe not consistently, obviously, at that level because that's just not possible because it's just that good. But I think he'll have a really consistent year, but obviously consistently good. I think he'll have a really, really good year, and I think it's going to be prolonged. So it's not just like a 1 year like a Barber or Jared Hayne. I think it's prolonged more like a Teddy or JT or whatever. But I just after watching that trial, that confirmed it for me that it was only like just one little play in a trial. I just remember, but I just remember thinking to myself, yeah, nah, he's in for another big year.
Yeah. I mean, he was the one that I was thinking if it wasn't Reed Marnie. He's the safe option, but I thought we're here for predictions, so let's
I'm
predict.
still getting over that. Read money, yeah. Like I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just that is such a big call. At least if you get it right, I know you'll have absolutely like you'll be the only one who went it. So you'll yeah
Well, I picked a number of
best.
things last year that months and months and months in advance, and I got it right, and no one else was predicting it, and here we go.
If Reed Money gets it, I'll bow down to you because that's the big call. I'm still getting over that. Righto. While I'm recovering, I'll ask you this. That's a big call. Righto. Rookie of the year. Now, actually, I'll just say quickly. I don't know about you, but I actually had a lot of trouble. Not because there aren't many rookies. I actually was looking. I actually think there's, especially after watching the trial. I guess it makes it a bit easy because we get to see all of them. But I actually think there's quite a few decent rookies coming through. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you. What do you think?
All right, now before I looked it all up, I originally thought Kelman Tuolangi from the Tigers, but he's
Okay.
played 5 games, so he is ineligible to get Rookie of the Year. So I had to go back and think, and the player that is probably the easy option, and these players that play in this position typically get it,
I
and
think I know who's gonna go.
that's Toby Sexton.
Okay, that's not who I thought.
He plays in the halves. You look at all the Rookie of the Years in the last 10, 15 years, there's a lot of halves in there. Ash Taylor, DCE, just Adam Reynolds, just to name a couple of them.
Because you get your hands on the ball a lot more, it gives you more
You have a
opportunity.
better opportunity. The only other player, which I didn't end up looking to see how many games they played, who was also in the mix for me, is Isaac Targo.
Yes, now he's one I did look up. Yeah, he is ineligible because he played quite a few games off the bench. Well, not quite a few, but he played games off the bench last year. Yeah, he's played over the 5
Yeah, I wasn't
games.
sure how many
Yeah,
he played, but he was the other player
he is. Yeah, he
that.
was the one I thought of, but yeah, ineligible. But yeah, right. Okay. Me, honestly, I had quite a few to think from. Because I really like this isn't the one because I don't think he'll play much because of who the Roosters have there. But I really like that. And I don't know how to say his name. Nefatu White, is it?
Yeah,
WH White.
that White, that
White.
back. He played back row in the trial match. Yeah, yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I just think because the Roosters have good depth there, but I just think he's one to watch in the future. So keep your eyes on him. You heard it here first. Rookie of the year, I'm going, which could be jumping on the bandwagon after his good runs he had in the trial, but I'm going Frank Pally from the Sharks. I think he might not start the year on the bench start the year at all, because in that side, because of who they have, but I think he'll um end up jagging a bench spot and be a regular bencher during the year. I just really liked what I saw from him. He's got the mongrel, he's got the aggression. He ran straight at TPJ. You might think that's not that hard. I know you don't rate TPJ, but the thing is, at the end of the day, he was running off the back fence, which I just love. I just love that sort of stuff, and it is good to see now. We don't see that as much. We see more skill than just running it straight at the defense, which I thought was great. I said this to you earlier. He only played one game last year. I was surprised, but then like you said, he was named a few times and then dropped off. But for me, he is one. Might not start the year, but I think by the end of the year, he would have played 15 or odd 15, at least 15 odd games, and he'll go see. But for me, there was a few. Even I know you said it in the off season. I said no way, which he won't probably play much. But that Ezra Mam, the Broncos. I think the one which I'm surprised you didn't pick. I thought the obvious one, which I think I'd say honestly 95% of people will pick, will be Savage from the Raiders. Xavier Savage. I think everyone is going to go him.
Who knows what Ricky Stewart's going to do, though?
That's the thing. It depends where he plays, fullback, wing, even centre. Who knows? But yeah, Sexton was another one I thought of. The centre from, I'm just naming everyone here, but no, the last one, the centre from Manly. But see, for me, these are good players. These are good rookies coming through. But like the centre for Manly, I don't think he's going to play as much this year just because of who they have there. So I think, yeah, I'm going Pally right now. That was, just named like every.
With him, though, the only thing for me is not many middle forwards get enough of an opportunity to get, their hands on the ball enough to get that rookie of the year. It always goes more to those outside backs or halves that see the ball more, touch the ball more, score all the tries. You don't see that hard-working player up.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I did think of Sexton and that, but I just haven't seen enough of him to comment on him. And that's why I did think Savage. Pally.
I just think Sexton, just with that security, he's gonna, unless he gets injured, he's playing 24, 25 games. So, just by playing sheer amount of games, puts him so far in front of some of those other candidates.
Yeah, no, not a bad call. Alright, this one, coach of the year. I actually had, because it's always not contentious. I just think, how do you define the coach of the year? Is it, the coach with the best team of the year? Is the coach who does the best job? I think it's always a hard one to decide. Sometimes you'll have a coach who improves the side, but they, just make the 8 or just miss out on the 8, and you think, well, that's still great. They could be coach of the year or whatever. So I think this is always a tough one to go. But what do you think? Who are you thinking?
Well, I'm just going to stick with what I've gone throughout most of the chat, and that's with the Eels. I just think on the back of the way they're changing, Brad Arthur. He's been the coach for a number of years now. They've tried so many different things. Or, not really. They've tried the same thing over and over again. Just by changing it, by doing that. Like, if they didn't change, he's on the cards to get sacked. But he's changed it, and I just think that's where he's going to get that upper hand in that.
Yeah. And regardless of results, and just on a side note, I really do, Brad Arthur, he is a good coach. If there is one to help the Eels get that next step, I think it is him. Yeah.
Well, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't have, if the Eels did the same thing like they've done over the last few years, I wouldn't have him on the chopping block because, you can only get the team so far. They have to do the rest.
Yeah.
But the fact that and they just look like a better side, I just feel like he'll do enough just to secure that accolade. What do you got?
I've gone for, and it's funny, I went for a position, which you'll be like, what? Well, I'll explain in a second. I went more for position than an actual, because I thought to myself, because again, for me, this was my hardest one. one I actually had to think about the most because, like I said, it's so hard to. Because I just think you have your consistently good coaches. Do they get coach of the year, or is it a coach who stands out? Do they, for me, this is a really hard one. I went for Jason Demetrio because not necessarily because of him. I don't know how he coaches or anything, but I think the Rabbitohs will make the top four without a strong. I think against Ilias, but without a strong, well known, maybe that's a better word, halfback, and a few other positions I'm not sure about. I think I think the Rabbitohs will still make the top four, so I think Demetrio by sort of default will get it because it shows that hey, they don't just need Wayne Bennett to get the best out of these players like Latrell or whatever. And I think because Demetrio has been involved with their processes already, I know some things will change, but I don't think much will change now that the head coach is gone, Bennett. But Dimitro's been there as assistant or whatever, so I think a lot of it will stay the same. So it's not like it's getting used to a new coach.
Yeah, well, I
So
don't think that
I think the transition will be a lot
he's not
easier. And
someone that I would have picked or even thought of, to be honest. But, a couple of years ago, he was announced that he would replace Wayne Bennett. So no doubt they've had in place everything in that process ready for him to take over once Bennett's
and
contract ran out.
he's had time, yeah.
So, he took a
Bennett
bit
can
more of
teach
a
them as much as he
responsibility
wants,
last
yeah.
year. We seen him take that responsibility off Wayne Bennett a little bit, through the media and other things like that. Pre-game, you could just see Bennett sitting back doing not as much, but Demetrio
Yeah,
was
I
jumping
think it
in the
worked.
shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad call at all. So,
Right, I'll let you ask me this, but I want to jump on this straight away because this for me is a big one.
all right, now the next one I had actually a couple of people originally, but then I got locked on this other player specifically. But your breakout player of the year, who is going to be the biggest success story? Last year we had what we would agree would be Nico Hines. Who's this year?
Yeah, definitely. Me, and I love this guy, which is sort of funny because where I'm tipping this side to finish, but I'll explain it right. The Hammer.
The
It's gonna
Hammer.
be Hammer time. He's my breakout year. I love the Hammer. I think he's gonna play really good. He still needs to learn how to play fullback position and all that. But I think he's great. He showed in the trials, doesn't matter what position he plays, he can just get the ball in, create something from nothing. That's how good he is. He can just play that off the cuff footy. He can just get the ball, use his speed. And I think because the Cowboys, and this is another thing, which might sound a bit political, but I think because Cowboys will struggle, the good players in that side will look better. Like the Hammer, he'll play good because the Cowboys struggle. You look at certain players and think, oh, in a struggling side, he's playing really really good. So for me, that's the Hammer. I love him. He's one of my favorite players. He's just great to watch. And the thing is, I think he's after that he'll be a certainty, which he might already be because of who we have. But I think he's a certainty for Origin and onto your hat. I think he'll be pushing for a World Cup spot.
That is a big
Not
call.
necessarily in the
We have a lot of
not just
outside backs, so that is a huge call.
in the starting side, but I mean in that however many they name 25, 24, 23, however many they name in that squad, he'll make that squad. However many they have, but he'll make that squad. That's on the back of that. That's how much I rate the
Yeah,
Hammer.
see, for me, I did think of a couple of players in that sort of similar caliber of a player who's played rep footy before, but I've just gone for someone who is yet to break into the representative scene. Um, we've spoken about this player for a few years now. I've actually seen this player firsthand through juniors, which was Bo Farnham.
Yes.
He is such a hard-working guy. He is one of the fittest players in the NRL, not just at the Titans, one of the fittest in the NRL, obliterating so many different records and times throughout preseason at the Titans is something that I read a few weeks ago. Just really love him. He's got that second row spot secured, in my opinion. If he doesn't, he'll have it within the first couple of weeks. I have him as an Origin prospect for Queensland as well. Like, you know, he was playing better footy than $1 million man Dave Fafita last year in that middle part of the year. He kicked Fafita back to
Or
the bench. So he is
after the
definitely a
start
good
of
enough
the year,
player.
we had
He is definitely a good enough player to break in to that 17 for Queensland. Maybe not in the starting side when you've got players like Kafusi and Capewell, even Dave Fafita if he plays well. But this player, in Beau Fermor, he's fast, real fast. One of the fastest at the Titans, if not the fastest at the club. He can play back row, he's light-footed, but, you need to chuck him in centre, he can chuck him in the centre. Probably chuck him in the middle if you needed to as well. So, he is who I believe will have a breakout year.
I like that call. I honestly didn't even think of him. I just because I love the Hammer, so I went Hammer. I really like that call. We've talked a lot about him recently, but yeah, he starting back right. Yeah, no, I think I like that call better than mine. I really like that. That's the. I jump on? No, no, no. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, exactly. I agree with all those things said, and yeah, you're the one who told me a couple of weeks ago about all those records and all that, which yeah says a lot when you've got yeah. No, it's a good one. Right, what do we got? Best recruit. So the signing of the year.
All right, now
What are you
this
thinking
player
there?
that I have here for the best recruit, I also originally had him as one of my possible players for breakout player of the year. The only reason I didn't end up is because I've seen a bit of him play more of his potential in the Super League. So I've gone Jackson Hastings as the recruit of the year.
Okay.
I think, as seen in that trial match, the second that he took over from Luke Brooks, the Tigers were a completely different side. Not saying
Mm.
Luke Brooks doesn't have a position in that Tigers side, I don't know. But Hastings is wearing the hat. Like, he is the man in
Yeah, I
charge
don't
there.
know what it was, but yeah, you are right. As soon as he was controlling, they just played different footy, like better. That's just
He was
yeah.
organised, he was pushing people to go here, there, and everywhere. He was playing that halfback role. We've seen a little bit of that when he was coming through the 20s system. He got that big rap, got into the Roosters, and just struggled a bit. Went to Manly, struggled to get a spot in that 17, whether it was 6 or on the bench. Couldn't really fit in. Got a better opportunity overseas. Killed it. Player of the year over there in the very first
Absolutely
time.
killed it, and then gets into the great, not just England, the Great Britain squad. Agree with
Like,
it or not? Yeah,
that's why, see, for me, those few things there with what he did in the Super League is why I took him away from that breakout because I've seen him do it in Super League, but he's
yeah,
yet to have a year in the NRL. So, you could say he has a breakout NRL season, but he's
yeah.
still the recruit of the year for me.
Jack, that's good chat. I've actually I don't know, best recruit. I've gone for Manny Burton.
Yeah.
I think he's going to provide some well needed stability. I think that's the best way to say it, at the Dogs, not just at the Dogs, but in the halves, because it was like a revolving door last year between Wakeham, Lockie Lewis, and Flanagan.
Well, see, I
Um,
agree just quickly on that
who
one. Last year, if they have a lot of movers in the halves this year, you'll have Burton there no matter what. So it might be great for
and last
Burton.
year that was Avarillo who stayed there, and then the others rotated. But
Like,
yeah,
so
exactly. They'll all rotate around Burton. And I think even in the trials, he just, against the Sharkies, that try he scored on the left edge, he just got the ball, looked not, and he just, even though
backed
that's so
himself.
simple, even though it's so simple, he just looks good. And I think at his new club, he looks comfortable, ready.
I think winning the
Yeah,
premiership helps.
yeah, definitely.
Yes, it
Well,
was a
we need
different
to add
position.
Bento too.
Yes, different position, but I do think that winning a premiership to just give him that little bit of an extra boost
Yeah.
to come into that dog side. Like, if they
And
went on to
he'll
lose the
take
grand
that.
final,
Go.
he comes to the Dogs, wishing that he didn't leave the Panthers because they had a pretty good
Yeah,
team. He'll want to win the premiership. He feels like there's unfinished business at the Panthers.
yeah.
By winning it, he's finished it. He got the
He's
premiership.
done his job, yeah. And the thing is, I think he'll bring that sort of professionalism, that's the word, to the Dogs, which with all their recruits, that's what they're trying to achieve. Obviously, they want to get up the ladder and win the premiership, but I think they just want to play better footy and play not obviously better, but even just like a better brand of footy, which I think he's going to bring to them. And like you said, you'd have him at halfback. I would too. I think you'd have him more as a role. But I think with Avarillo and Burton, I'd have Burton more controlling. I'd just love to see him run the show. It's his side. Either way, I think he'll be a really, really good recruit. He'll just bring all his ability and, from the Panthers over to the Dogs, which will help the Dogs. And I even think just him himself could even just bring the Dogs up just to play better.
No, I can't really go against Burton. I think he's a quality player. I just think potentially going into a club struggling, even with all their new recruits, may hinder him. But he does have a lot of class. Now, this next one we didn't really pre-plan until just before we recorded, but we've gone who we think the best recruit is.
Do you want me
Now,
to go first? Because I know what mine is already.
the recruit who we believe will struggle the most disappointing of.
Do you agree with me?
Well, who you got?
You already know who I got. I'm going for. I'll go first then. Right. I think the worst, not necessarily the worst. Yeah, like you said, the one who struggles the most. I'm going same club. I'm going Addo-Carr, which I think a lot of people will hear that and think, "Whoa, that's a big call." But
A lot of
I
people hear
I
it. They got to
I
listen to
think
this first.
yeah, okay, fair enough. But I think a lot of people, love and rate Addo-Carr. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I don't think he's going to play as good at Storm. I don't under a inexperienced coach, but pretty much not Craig Bellamy coach. I think he'll struggle. I think we've seen it with players before that have left the Storm. They just haven't played as good because they haven't been under a strict Craig Bellamy coach. I look at Kevin Proctor when he left the Storm, he really did drop off. I think, and being on the wing, I think he might get a little bit lost sometimes, and just cold feet if when having a bad night the ball won't come to him. I just don't think he'll play as good, and I think might get he might get a little bit lazy, just without having that Bellamy style presence. And we always talk about, these players go to Storm and play really good. The ones who leave Storm, some like Tohu Harris, some still play really good, some drop off. It depends so much, but I really think, again, I'm not saying he's going to have a terrible year. I still think he'll play decent enough, but I think from where he is, which is I think the first choice Australian winger, pretty much that's where he's at the moment. I think he's going to drop right off that, and I think he'll be lucky to scrape into the blue side. I think he still will because I don't have many other people, but I think he'll be lucky to scrape into the blue side. It's my
Yeah,
prediction with Addo-Carr.
you did say that one to me a while ago. I think he does bring a lot off the field, which may help the Dogs, but I can definitely see him not play as well as he probably can. It might give him this year. Maybe next year he ends up being,
Yeah,
back to his best. Just again, you're going from a club who, won the most games in a row in a season ever to the Wooden Spooners. So it is a huge
yeah.
difference, and I can definitely see where you're coming from now.
And that's not necessarily a reflection of Addo-Carr. It's just a reflection, part of it, of the situation to go from one of the best sides in the comp for a number of years, Australian winger, with all those raps, so the eyes are on him as the sort of star recruit or whatever for the doggies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to stick on the Dogs as well.
Oh, okay. I think I know who you're going then. Your mate.
3 letters, TPJ.
Yeah.
I just think the way that he went in those trials, yeah, he might have played okay footy, but he did not keep his cool. He You just look last year when he went to the Panthers, under a better system, a great coach, he was looking a hell of a lot better. He was making an impact every time he touched the ball, even every time he stood on the field, whether it was with the ball or in defence. He's gone into that, slightly different setting, very similar to a struggling Broncos in the last recent, few years, and lost his cool straight away. You know, unless Phil Gould can rein it in as that senior figure, TPJ worst or most disappointing signing of the year. We know he's got talent, but you know,
I think part of it too is I wonder where, like in the future, I wonder where his position is with the Dogs, because if Kickout's coming, he's going to start in the back row. You'd say with Josh Jackson. So I just wonder where his future is. If he's starting back row this year, he's one of the first picks. And that's yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
it is going to be interesting come 2023, but 2022 hasn't even started yet. So let's just get to 2022.
okay. Yeah. It's funny because how we can pick the best and worst recruit both from the Dogs. They got that many recruits.
I did have a quick little look at every recruit going into this season, and to be honest, there's not a huge amount of really big name stars that have changed teams. Like there's a handful, but for me, none of them really stood out as going to be a real big disappointment. Everyone else was kind of, even if they are a little bit below their best, it's not, you know, unheard of sort of thing. Which was even for me picking Tavita Pangai was, you know, I don't think he's going to be horrible. I just think he's just going to be a little disappointing because he's just going to keep getting suspended.
And because sometimes he can, beat three guys and throw an offload in, so people see the skill and then they put him up to that, and then that's the bar, which for him that's not the bar, that's his best or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, just a bit of a different one I think we have here now, just as a 3-4 month out little pick. Just some predictions around Origin. Now I picked 3 points. Very basic. I'll just go first. I went New South Wales to win, unfortunately 2-1 again. And then I've gone and just picked a couple of out there debutants. I've got Nico Hines to debut for New South Wales and Reid Marnie to debut for Queensland. Not huge calls, but a couple of little predictions throughout that series.
And gets the utility bench spot, you'd say.
If he plays even half as well as he did last year, he's got to have it.
5'8".
He's, a perfect utility bench player. Can play anywhere, 1 through to 7. Chuck him in 9, chuck him in 13. He's big enough to put in the second row if you really needed. So everywhere but prop, essentially, is where he can play. So he is really good utility. He brings a kicking game, cool head, coming from a good club, gets the added responsibility this year of leading a Shark side around. He's got a side that's his. He's going to take ownership on it. I think he's going to thrive in it, and he'll just secure that spot.
I just think it'll be hard. Like I sort of forget, to be honest, who all the incumbents are, but I think it'll be hard to. I think Pappenhausen gets that bench before. I think it'll be hard for him to get it over, say, someone like a Pappenhausen.
Well, there's
But no,
versatility.
that's I
Putting
do
versatility in,
agree.
Paps can only really play half the positions that Hines can. And as seen last year, both did an exceptional well at the positions that they played. Like, Paps only really played fullback for the Storm last year.
I guess part of it is the prediction for that player.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, like I think Hines will have a good year, but I don't think he'll have an excellent year. So yeah.
Yeah, so what about you? What do you
Okay,
got? Couple
so
little things
I
for me.
was going to say, so for you, so you got Marnie at starting hooker.
I just have him to debut. Um,
Not sure, because Harry Grant there, it'd be hard to
it is
just
going to be hard to take
play him.
Harry Grant away from that
Just
team,
wondering what you think.
especially now that he should be starting 9 all year for Storm.
Yeah.
So, we probably haven't even seen the best of Harry Grant, but I also don't think we've seen the best of Reid Marnie. So,
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you have two genuine hookers in the side, or you have one and one misses out. I was just wondering where you're
Yeah,
going.
so I don't know. Grant Matt get injured, Marnie first
Yeah.
in. I just have him to
You,
debut.
you just love money, kind of.
I just feel like I said, however long ago it was when we were talking about Dahlia. I just picking a real big year for him.
I didn't go in depth of that. I just think, which I think is pretty easy. I think New South Wales will win, unfortunately. Queenslanders, I want to put out there. Um, New South Wales will win, and I think the obvious one is just to go 2-1. So Queensland get a consolation game. They win 2-1. I went as basic as that. But yeah, I like Marnie. I'm going the Hammer to get the. I think he'll get a spot. I don't know
Well,
where he'll play.
he was the center last. I think the only
I
thing.
just think with Holmes as the genuine centre now at the Cowboys, and then Gagger, I think that might be a sense. But I think Hammer, wherever he plays, he'll get a spot there. It'll just be if it's wing, centre,
Well, I
whatever.
could see
But
him on the wing, him just move from fullback to wing, have probably Xavier Coates back on that other wing as an incumbent as well, and Holmes, who was the wing, just swaps with the Hammer,
Holmes
who
and
goes
Gagger,
into the
centre,
centre,
yeah,
just because that's the position that he's playing for club.
yeah. But I think Hammer will come in and he'll play really good. Like as good as Dan Gagai played when he first came and he scored all those tries. That's what I think the Hammer will do. I just think New South Wales have got too many, good. I just think it's funny. I look at New South Wales more as the players who miss out, how good they are, compared to the Queensland. At the moment, it's, or who makes it. We have some really young. Not saying they don't deserve it, but some really young, inexperienced guys who had to play last year, and Flegler and Sewer and all these guys and that. So even Molo and that. I think with New South Wales, the players who miss out, because even like 5'8" talk, Walker or Whiten and all that sort of stuff, and Hines and Pappenhausen, and still got Teddy Turbo and Mitchell, all these guys. I think they've just got too many, too many good individual players, which again they showed last year. I just can't see much changing from last year.
Yeah, that's the only thing potentially.
That's a long way away.
The only potential thing that might be Queensland's saving grace is what happened a couple of years ago. A bit of complacence from the Blues.
Yeah,
That
after
is the
winning, yeah.
that is the only thing. They by far still have the better side, the more depth. So
Well, I remember, was it the first two games they won? I think Queensland scored one try in the two games, was it?
yeah,
One
it
game was
was
nil, one game was 6. So so by game 3, there might have been a bit of that complacency for us to win. So yeah,
potentially, but there was also a number of their
that
players
is
that
our
were out.
only.
So
Yeah, that's true. I think that is our only chance. At the end of the day, we'll win however we can. It doesn't matter. That's how Queensland does it. The scrappy wins. Two years ago, right?
all right, now this last one, I'm going to just jump in here to start off this. So this time last year, I had a. Well, sorry, let me start first. We're going to just go one big prediction for the season. Now,
The
12 months
one. I,
ago,
I I just want to point out I have to limit Brownie here to one. I will say he is good for a bold prediction. I think you're going to talk about it. I don't want
yeah.
to
So this time last year,
take
maybe
over the
even I
one
think
prediction.
at the end of 2020, I made this massive prediction leading into last year was Boyd Cordner to retire. No one thought of it, even listening to Boyd Cordner on a few podcasts himself. He didn't really know if he was going to retire. He didn't even think about it until after the season had started. So I picked it 6, 8 months out from when he
Yeah,
officially retired. He didn't play another game.
I can confirm that because I'm
Um,
just like, well, if he's retiring, why isn't he retiring now? I thought it just shrugged it off.
and but this
I'm
year,
just crackpot
I don't
series.
really have a huge. Well, I could look into retirements a little bit, be like, Wade Graham might, he could retire, or I could be,
You
Luke
made your
Keary.
quota of retirement
Yeah,
predictions.
so or I could go, Luke Keary. He's had a few head knocks. Maybe he's next to retire. But both of them, they're pretty obvious now. On the back of last year, Friend and Cordner retiring for their head knocks, going for someone else to retire from concussion is pretty low risk. Um, So for me, I did a lot of thinking about this one, but my prediction of the year will be Oliver Gildart will be centre of the year. He'll be the first outside back from England in a very, very long time to actually succeed in the NRL.
Okay.
So, we've had a number of them over the years come and try and fail, be gone within 12 months.
And
My,
come over with a lot of raps, coming over as, playing for England as incumbents, like Callum Watkins was the incumbent centre, Tompkins was the incumbent fullback for England, come over, dropped way off, and then takes them years back in the Super League to reclaim even Ryan Hall, which part of it was injury, but yeah.
I just feel like
Yeah.
he will be, not only will he succeed, he will be centre of the year.
Okay.
All right. I reckon you're probably just like the Reed Marnie call, trying to pick yourself up after that one.
No, 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 no.
You
I don't
liking it?
mind that. I was thinking, yeah, well, like how you said with Hastings for breakout players of the year, for me that was same as Gildart. Because he has sort of shown a bit, because he is, I think, the incumbent, or they
He has
choose
played for
some
England,
different players.
100%.
But he played for England, maybe the incumbent, I don't know, because they pick so many different players. Right, my big call, just to be honest, I was looking forward to this. I love how we left this the last. This is it. On the back of for me, which I have to wait and say it now. I was going to say it earlier. Right, on the back of getting the wooden spoon, Todd Payton won't finish the year. The Cowboys, he'll be sacked before the year's out.
Yeah,
That's my
I
prediction. Which, might not be that big of a prediction, but I think that's my big prediction of the year. Um, I was even thinking of a category we could have, which coach would get sacked
I did
this
see
year, because
something
there's
on
always
one of
going
the
to be
betting
some.
channels. They chucked up some
Yes,
some stakes on it and all of that. So I think there is something along there, but
I'm going Todd
unfortunately, it
Payton.
is
I don't think he'll
inevitable
finish. Yeah, yeah.
that someone will be sacked as coach. I am completely against sacking
Oh,
someone as coach. In
definitely.
my opinion, doesn't solve the issue.
But with how quick they do it, which we talked about many times before with Dean Payne, Nathan Brown, and some others and that. But yeah, but with how quick they do it, which I'm not saying I agree with it. I just think that's what's going to happen with Todd
Yeah,
Payton, because
and
Cowboys aren't going to get the results. They're going to have a couple of back-to-back poor years. I think the wooden spoon's going to be like the nail in the coffin for him.
yeah, I think
On
he
that, I actually think back when you were talking about the Dragons, that I was thinking about it, and who's odds on. I think Anthony Griffin is odds on. To personally, I don't think that. I think he's a great coach, but I think he's odds on. A lot of people are saying him because when he extended his contract, a lot of people sort of were saying,
yeah.
what are they doing?
Just for me with coaches and getting sacked and all that, for me there has to be a damn good reason to sack a coach before the end of a season, or not even going that far within the first 6 weeks of the season, which we have seen in the past. Like, you know, if you didn't want the coach within the first 6 weeks, obviously you've not wanted them for a while now. So get rid of them sooner, or wait till the end of the season is my personal opinion. But
I just think the reason why they get rid of him earlier is because and they need to start the transition process. But the problem is there's no use getting rid of him during the year if you have to wait to the following year to get that coach. Like, I know John Morris one was a bit different, but it's not like they can start under their new coach until the following year anyway. Anyway, it gets messy.
yeah, I think that one is a little bit different with Morris just walking out of his contract because they didn't want him anymore. It was very, very messy, but you know,
I just think even I still think of the one Anthony Griffin at the Panthers. They just about to make finals. What was I think? A couple of weeks before finals, they're fourth place in the top four, and then see you later. You got the
yeah, again, for
you got the
me,
hook. Hook
unless
got the
there
hook.
is a huge
Come
reason
on, no.
behind it, that was, it was a pretty good one, but
Hook got the hook. Anyway, yeah, go.
unless there's a massive reason behind it, it is probably my last thing to do. I'm
Yeah,
looking at,
definitely.
as people working within the club, I don't look first at the coach. I look at the players, how the players are responding. If the players can fix it, then we move into the direction of different staff around the club.
It's such a logical, like such an easy.
It's an easy out. It's a good scapegoat.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's such an easy out. Just like because it's just get rid of the coach, then it's like what's everything's gonna suddenly be good. If you got the same players, then nothing changes.
Yeah,
I
like,
think
and
because I
again,
look at it the
unless there
same as
is a
any business.
huge, unless there's a massive reason to sack the coach,
Yeah,
nothing's really going to change by changing your coach or getting rid of that one.
I look at it any normal like business or structure or whatever. In a business, do you sack your boss or manager first, or do the people underneath them, the actual workers, are always the ones who are looked at first or reviewed first, or
Yeah,
before
and
you
well, even
sack
saying
the
that, we
top
don't know
person.
if the players have been reviewed before the coach. It's just publicly, all we can see is a coach gets hammered before the players.
This happens too quickly, yeah.
But is that definitely what happens? We don't know what happens behind closed doors. We just see a media's perspective, and a media's perspective is always biased. So,
And sometimes the players themselves get rid of the coach, i.e.
yeah,
Justin
let's
Langer. That's
just. I think
all.
we can wrap it up there, talking about all the coaches, because we could be here forever. But no, this has been a pretty successful first little look at Brennarldo and Cecch. Um, we've gone through a number of different things. I'm sure we can go through 1,000 more things, talk for another
I
few.
think they're the main best
Yeah, but
predictions to make.
I mean, we, as we talk about a lot. We have been speaking about doing something like this for a couple of years now. We probably have chats exactly like this every second or third day. We just decided maybe it's time we put a camera in front of us, bit of a microphone,
Not much has changed.
and give it a crack. The only thing that has changed is that camera and the microphone, and we've given ourselves a bit of a name for this show, Brennarldo
And
and
they
Cecch.
name for what we do.
A name for what we do, other than just talking rubbish.
I was
Um,
about to say talking rubbish with Ronaldo and Cech.
you know what? Maybe we could change it to talking rubbish with Brennarldo and Cecch, but who
Yeah.
knows? We've got a few things coming up over the next little bit. I'd love, you to tune in again, go through some things with team lists every week.
Yes.
Bit of a review, preview, bold predictions for the week. Who knows what we'll come up with. Um, old mate Kyle here, Cech, he's known for a bit of a blow up every now and then, or not so much a blow
Ooh,
up, but
yes.
a strong opinion towards something. Now, I'll have to make
Cool.
sure that we pre-screen it next time that we show it, just so that we don't get into any trouble, because we are only just starting this, and we'd like to build a
Yes.
platform before we hit anything too controversial, if controversial
Rain, you're gonna
at
have
all.
to, yeah, you'll have to rein me in. Hey,
Um,
I kept the team tonight for you.
Tonight was good. Now all we have to do is get to the second one, if we can. Team list tomorrow night, round one on Thursday. We've got Supercoach, which we enjoy. A couple of big calls, I think, in both of our teams that we may discuss throughout the year. But thanks for jumping on to the first episode of Brennarldo and Cecch. As I said before, me, Brennarldo. We got Kyle, Matt. Matt Cech is his gamer tag. I won't tell you the rest or what platform, but that's where he gets Cech from.
Yes.
Got the Dre Rust
Just
hairstyle, as I was discussing before we started. So,
or some people which I've jumped onto, kick out,
kick
William
out.
kick out a
Willie
little
kick
bit.
out. I was thinking just a second ago, looks like the bit of the Pete Siddle look. But,
City, I just need the sunglasses. I look real cool then.
but no. Thank you
All
everyone
right,
for
let's do
listening
that.
in. We're tuning out.